Hey everybody! In today's video I'm going to play with masking fluid and the Brushos that Stampin' Up! Is now carrying. You know I love Brusho. And a fabulous new stamp set called Magical Day. This is the way the Brusho comes packaged from Stampin' Up! They have 5 colors that you can see here. And the easiest way to deal with any powdered watercolor is to just pierce a hole in the top of the container, and that is how you can shake it out like it's a salt shaker when you're ready to use it. A little bit of any powdered watercolor goes a really long way, and so that's why you just need one tiny little hole to be able to dispense the product. Now to seal that hole, I just use these round washi stickers, which I love. So I have stamped the dragon from Magical Day and used my favorite masking fluid, the Schmincke masking fluid. It comes in blue and white, but I always pick the blue because it's easier for me to see. Other than that, they are identical. Now when you mask something before you go to watercolor, you have to make sure it's completely dry. If you don't do that, you risk tearing your paper when you go to remove the mask. So I've spritzed my watercolor paper with water, and I'm just sprinkling on different Brushos. I'm using all of them except the moss green, which I'm going to use for the dragon. And I'm going for just a moody, kind of magical background. So I've used quite a bit of color here. I want it to sort of look atmospheric and cloudy. And so that's why I've included that beautiful dark Prussian blue. You can always spritz again if you're still seeing little spots of the crystals. And you can come back and add powder. I put quite a bit of water on here, so there's lots of movement if I go back and add powder on top of that. So now I just have a stack of dry baby wipes. I just open the container and let them dry out, and I use them frequently just as kind of general purpose craft rags. And I'm just dabbing at the edges where it's sort of pooled. That's a little more color than I would like at the edges. And then I take the edge of these dry baby wipes and I just remove a little bit of water that's sitting on top of the masking fluid. And that's just to help the whole thing dry faster. So I'll set that aside. And once it is completely dry, this step also needs to be completely dry before you remove the masking fluid, because that is another opportunity for you to tear your paper if it's wet. Watercolor paper is at its most vulnerable when it's wet. So you just need to have patience and let it air dry. You don't want to use a heat gun with masking fluid, but it peels off perfectly, and you can see my perfectly preserved white dragon underneath all of that nice background watercoloring. So just make sure you get every little bit of the masking fluid off. And then now I can watercolor the dragon. So I wanted to show you that you can mix your own custom colors with Brusho, so you don't need to feel limited by the 5 colors. You can do a heck of a lot with 5 colors of Brusho. And so I'll be mixing a few custom colors on this little guy. So first of all, I'm just taking the moss green powder and adding a little bit of water to it. And that's a pretty dark, mossy green. And so I'm going to warm it up with some yellow. And the difference between the yellow and the gamboge in the set is gamboge is a much warmer yellow. They're both yellow, but one of them is a warm, sunny yellow, and that's the gamboge. And then this yellow is a more what you would consider a classic yellow, not exactly a lemon yellow, but a less orange, sunny yellow. Now I'm adding a little bit of the Prussian blue back into this green. to give it a little bit more interest and also to pull in the Prussian blue that's in the background to make it just more harmonious overall. I do this a lot when I watercolor. It helps all the elements play nicely together on your watercolor, and this is giving me sort of an alligator green that I like. That's not a technical term, alligator green. So I'll speed this up while I watercolor. There's nothing magical going on here. It's just me painting, and that would take forever for you to watch in real time. So the first thing I do is just put a light layer of this base dragon color down, custom mixed dragon color, and then I'm going to glaze on top of it with the yellow just to warm up that color a tiny bit and make him stand out just a little bit from the background. And make sure you get all of his little spines because they're very tiny, but I'm using a pretty small paintbrush here. So now, since I have Prussian blue in the custom mix dragon color that I'm using, it's a naturally good choice for any shadows that I want to put on my dragon and on his little scales. I think the scales look so much more realistic when you shade underneath them. So, because we're talking about realism here, right? I'm painting a dragon, and I need my dragon to be realistic. But this Prussian blue is a great shadow color, so I'm being pretty generous with this everywhere that there would be shading. And it gives just enough contrast to the green that it helps him stand out from the background just a little bit. I'm going to shade kind of under his chin and under his mouth just to make him look more three-dimensional. He looks like somebody just called his name and he's turning around like, what? What? Are you talking to me? It's like a quick turn of his head is what it looks like to me. And then I'm going to shade underneath his scales up front. And you can see even here just how much that makes that pop. Just that one little touch. So now I'm going to come back to real time and I'm just going to mix up a good shadow color for him. So I'm bringing in the red and I'm actually adding the dragon color to the red to give me sort of a warm purpley brown. And you're thinking, gosh, well, you shouldn't mix red and green, but you should if what you want is a neutral color. And this is a pretty neutral color. Although there is a lot of blue in the green that I mixed, and so it does get kind of a purple tone to it as it mixes, but it's perfect for his shadow, and he does need a shadow. He's a big guy, and I need to ground him and not just have him floating in space, even though he is a dragon, and he could float in space if he needed to. But I'm going to make a almost realistic shadow. I'm going to try to mimic the shape of where his tail is and also the way that his neck is curved, just so that when you look at it, your overall impression is that it's a real shadow, but I'm not going to fill in the entire dragon. I just wanted those two sides. This is going to come down towards my greeting, and so I just wanted those two sides to really reflect the shape of the tail and the head. And if you come in a little bit dark, like I've done there, it's no big deal. If you have enough water in your paintbrush, you're just going to be able to add water and move that paint around. So there I have sort of his neck and the curve of his tail. And I think that that's enough suggestion to let you see that it really is a real shadow. It actually sort of looks, the shadow, the upside down version of the dragon, looks like the Loch Ness Monster. So there he is. He is looking pretty good. Very cute with his dramatic background. And here is the finished card with just a little white embossing for the sentiment. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching.